Probably.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order for Thursday, May 3rd. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay. I move to approve the agenda the way it is. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public participation. Yes, Barbara.
Barbara Sherman, 12 Allen Drive, Broadbrook. I just wanted you all to know that the American Heritage River Commission is celebrating Connecticut Trails Day, Sunday, June 3rd, with a guided hike starting at 10 a.m. In conjunction with the hike, we are going to do a ceremonial ribbon cutting for the Melrose Bridge walkway, and we're going to take the opportunity to thank everyone who helped us with the project. I'd like to give you each a personal invitation. It's 1 month from today. And we hope to see you there. We have invited people from the state, and we're hoping that they will be attending. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Paul.
Yes. Gee, it's handout thing. Okay. First, I did some research on committees and commissions.
Oh, good.
And you have the citations of where the information came from. So you can research it also if you so choose. But I thought it would be helpful. Of course.
Thank you.
And tomorrow's our vintage baseball game and exhibition. No, not tomorrow, Saturday. So, in the interest of, what do you call it, fair play? I don't know, but you all have a ticket, so you don't have any excuse not to
Well,
be
yeah,
there.
I was going to ask you what time it is.
Well, there you go, you have a ticket, so I bought you tickets.
All right, 25 cents.
That's right. So now
11 a.m.
you have to be there.
So it says here, vintage baseball game.
Yes.
Now, is this for people over 65?
1864 rules. How's that?
I thought it meant something to do with age.
18. Nope. We're not picking on you. It just seems like it.
Okay.
Okay, further public participation. Yes.
Jessica Bottomley, 91B Main Street in Broadbrook. I'm the chair of the Broadbrook Mill Site Remediation Committee. We have in our hands, thank you, the final plan that they have given us. I didn't want to do a full formal sort of presentation again, just keep it informal, because now that we have this, we can really go through it. One of the things that we're really looking for are the actual numbers. So in a lot of the reports, it says that there is chromium or there are materials over a certain threshold, and we want to know what that number is like. Is it a little bit over the threshold, or is it a lot over the threshold? So we know exactly how much toxic material they actually want to keep in town. So we're going through this, and I think we're really amping up getting more public involvement. Now that there is a plan, things are going to start moving. And so it really is important that people know about what's happening, that people know that this plan is here, that they're, as a part of their requirements, they're going to be having meetings. And the more people who know about it, the more people who have feelings on it, the more we can show exactly how much we don't want that to be there. And one of the important things that I've learned through this whole process is I sort of came into it really considering the buildings and preserving that historical part of Broadbrook, really the heart of Broadbrook. And no matter how much we want to save those buildings, we can't do it if we don't have clean land. if we don't have land that people are gonna wanna go on. So it is important that people get more information. You'll start to see us putting out more information, and we really want people to read it, to talk to people, to know what's happening and support that effort. Thank you.
Okay. Further public participation? Yes.
Okay, I got something in the mail from the town of East Bridgewood, which for the first time in as many years as I can remember, has excellent information about the budget process in town. Everybody should be getting one, correct?
Yes, in fact, they should have one.
All they have to do is read it. Son of a gun. Okay.
And I'd have to give credit to our new financial director, that's Amy O'Toole.
Yep.
She, and they do that in Canton, so she had the general idea of what to put together. She had a harder time pulling it together because our numbers are different than, in different places than she was used to, but she did the heart of the job. Amanda helped a little, and we got a local printer to do it. Allied.
Excellent.
Okay, Keith.
Keith Gadloff from Depot Street. I just wanted to follow up on what Jessica was saying for a minute. The plan that they have for the Broadbrook Mill is there's cancer-causing compounds, materials on that property. There's heavy metals like chromium, there's some volatile compounds, there are 1,4-dioxane on there, and they're cancer-causing agents. And they're supposed to clean that up because that's a brownfield property. And it's fenced off so no one can get into the property because they would be exposed to dangerous chemicals. But what we've learned is that they don't intend to remove those materials from the town. They intend to leave them on the site. And so what they plan to do is to dig up the chromium and some of the other cancer-causing agents and consolidate them behind the church, over down here, behind the strip mall in the ground, and cover it up with a tarp. And then they plan to cover the rest of it with what they call fill, like 18 inches of soil. So their idea of remediation is actually to cover the site with soil and to walk away from it. So they're not actually removing any of the cancer-causing agents or the contaminants from the site. And that's one of the things that the committee has learned when we went through the reports. So Jessica's saying we want to have more information as to the severity of the dangerous compounds that are on that property, so that when we, as a committee, ask the public and the Board of Selectmen to come forward and to support, hopefully, a full cleanup of the site, remove it off the site, we can say there's a lot of, is it right at the threshold, or is it 100 times greater than the thresholds? And we need to have that information. So I just wanted to add a little bit more to what Jessica said. Thank you.
Thank you.
The video is not working.
Oh, dear. Okay. All
All right, everybody say everything again.
No, the audio is good, it's just the video.
Oh yeah, you got one camera on.
Beyond me, your question mark. This is on the, not on the cameras, it's on the YouTube, so there's a bad connection here somehow.
Well, the robot up there
Camera's
started to look at us,
One's
That
on, one's
camera's
off.
not
up
working.
there. Then it turned back.
Well, and usually Rand is the one that can contact the guy that controls it, but Rand's not around. So, no camera tonight. Further public participation? Yes.
Yeah, Regis was a 10 Rice Road. A lot of people rely on that camera from at home because they can't make the meetings, and they use that video 3 hours in the morning to watch if they can't make it. I would suggest that maybe somebody get trained so that they can get that camera up and running, because this is like the 4th meeting I've been to where there's been problems and people have commented about the lack of a camera. So I just throw that out there.
Okay. Anybody else? Public participation?
Bob, can I make a comment about what Keith said?
Sure.
I've said this before. It's nice to have a committee, be involved, all that. It's nice to ask for the Board of Selectmen's support and other people in town. The only thing that this UTC, or who the hell ever owns that land, is gonna understand is a lawsuit. You're not gonna clean it up unless we grab them and force them into court and sue them to get that contaminated soil out of the town of East Windsor. So it's nice to sit here and talk all nice and pretty and everything else. It's gotta go to court to force these people to do the job right. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, good. Take that into account. The committee had heard that, so we'll see. Any more public participation? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for April 19th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board and commissions, resignations and appointment. We have a reappointment for the Historical Preservation Commission of Carla Bagdikian as a regular member. I move that we appoint Carla Bagdikian. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Thank
right.
you for serving.
Yes. 250th anniversary.
Since everybody else is handing stuff out tonight, I have invitations for all of you for the opening of the bicentennial time capsule, which is happening May 19th at 2:30, right in front of Town Hall.
Great.
As Paul already mentioned, our baseball game is on Saturday at the high school, starting at 11 o'clock. Tickets are 25 cents, so tickets will be sold at the gate. And that's all that we have going on for May. So,
Why are the tickets 25 cents?
because that's what tickets were back in
Oh.
the time of the 1964 when they used to play baseball.
18.
1864, sorry.
You're
Yeah.
dating me, you know.
Yeah. Yes. So that's why they're 25 cents.
Now, is there an agenda for this that you're going to have? What-
We will have, it's not finalized yet, we're still waiting to
Okay.
hear back from some people, so
Okay,
once we have it, it'll go online,
okay, good.
pass it
good.
out.
I guess you-
I think we have a meeting before the actual event for that.
Okay.
And you located the time capsule.
Yes,
so-
we have the time capsule, we just gotta pop it open the day of, and,
Okay, it was 8 feet down when you,
yeah, it was 8 feet down.
and then where's it now? Is it-
It's in my garage
Oh.
right now. There's a stand built for it, so it's on wheels, so you can just push it in and bring it on
How
down.
big is it?
Uh,
About 4 feet tall.
about 4 feet
3.5,
tall.
4 feet tall.
Yeah.
4
It's
feet tall
heavy.
by what?
18,
It's-
14 probably.
What was
Yeah.
it made out of?
You gotta come, find out.
We don't know if it's a gas pipe or a water tank. So
Something
it's
that
got
wouldn't
a,
rust, obviously.
It's heavy and very rusted, yes.
no, there's no rust on it hardly at all.
Well, the top is.
But all the
Actual-
bolts came off.
No aliens living in there right now?
Nope, the top of it was popped open and everything is in a bag, so we're assuming that everything is still safe and not wet, so we'll find out that day.
Okay.
So,
Will a new one be placed in the ground at that time?
no, the new one's gonna be placed September 23rd. We have one already together, and we will have it for the 19th, to start putting items into it.
Same place?
Yeah, it'll go in the same place, but in September, so.
Was there a plaque out there where that was, right?
There was a footstone there. I also have that at my garage, and we're gonna use the flip side of it for the 250th anniversary
Okay,
Woodstone, so we can reuse the same one, so.
okay, good.
Yep, and it'll go back in the same spot.
Good.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, now, the casino. And I do have some things to report about the casino. First, they applied for a permit to hook into the WCA sewage pipes, and they were granted. And when I talked to Art Inderly at the WPCA, I asked him just how did this affect our ability to handle sewage. And our sewage plant has the capacity to handle 2.5 million gallons of sewage a day. And right now, we're at 1.2 million gallons of sewage a day, so we're not even half full at this point. The casino is going to produce, well, 96,000 gallons of sewage a day, but that's about 100,000, which is about 1/10 of a million. So when we add that sewage to the plant, there'll be 1.3 million gallons. So we'll still have about 50% capacity. We could have 12 more casinos if we want to build them. And then, interestingly enough, and I put it on the table, in the last week or two, they've been talking about coming and getting permits for the wetlands and planning and zoning. And I have put out on the table some tentative dates. And on May 30th, there's going to be probably, if things work out, a public hearing for the wetlands, and that would be here at Town Hall. And then on June 13th, a public hearing for planning and zoning, and that would probably be in the high school auditorium. So we're making progress. And one more thing I put up here. We received this. It's a site plan, and it's got a lot of stuff in it, as you can see. And this is for the wetlands. And you can see here is the casino building. Here's the parking garage. Here's the entranceway and kind of a turnaround where you go into the casino. And so they've done a lot of work. So and this probably will be used again and enhanced for the planning and zoning portion in June. So they're working hard to get the casino there. They're moving along.
Rob, do you know where they stand with respect to engineering drawings and an architectural rendering of what it's going to look like?
I don't. And I would say that just from my perspective, and haven't talked to Rand too much about it, but obviously when they give us the detailed architectural plans, it has to really tell us where the footings are going to go and how high it's going to be and where the electrical outlets are and the sprinkler system. So it's really complete detail of how to build it. And that will take us a month to review, and then we'll actually farm it out to a company to do it, and just to make sure it meets Connecticut statutes and regulations for building. And it's going to take them a while to do that. I don't, personally, I don't expect it to be, we receive that till probably the fall. So
Oh, really?
that's what I...
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and when we get that would be applying for a building permit. To apply for a building permit, they have to give us the design and the specs, and they should give us $2 million or something in that price range. So we'll get some money, and you have to know they're serious when they give us that, and they're working on it. So they're not slowing down.
I'd also guess that they are waiting for an okay on this from planning and zoning.
Yeah.
And the wetlands, because if it's not and they have to move something, then that won't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It won't fall into that print then. So when they get approval of that, then I'm sure they'll move forward with doing the drawings that you're talking about.
But I'm sure they're doing a lot of engineering drawing, design work as well. I'm sure they have an architectural rendering of what it's going to look like before you start doing serious work on the engineering drawing.
Okay, any further discussion about the casino?
No, that's good progress.
Okay, new business, agricultural ordinance. And Kurt, you want to go up and talk?
I would. Well, perfect timing. That was a cabbage farm when I was little, right? Stanley Saminsky.
Yep, Stanley Saminsky
So
on that.
along those lines of development, I'm all for developing Route 5 and 140, but I think the town doesn't have enough ordinances to protect the farmers that are existing now in this town and for the future of the town. So what I'd like us to do in a nutshell is mirror our town next to us, to our east there is Ellington. Oh, well, I got a little packet, there's a few more little tidbits in there, but I got one for everybody. And there's some other extra information in there for you. But like I said, in a nutshell, I'd like to see the town take on to somebody, there's two of them there. There's the tax exempt for the farm buildings, which would be very important. You know, obviously we have the 490 and that kind of stuff, but there's a second one there for the farm equipment.
I saw that.
And I spoke very briefly with Helen, and I bent her ear a little bit, and so we don't have any of this stuff on our books. I really think we should look into it. I think it's a home run, and like I said, it's you know, just like Stanley Saminsky probably would have said, you know, if that's gonna, you know, that's the way the future is, you gotta protect the farmers that are here. And I think our neighbors to our east do a very good job with it, you know, through the process of an ordinance. So I really push this, the Ag Commission, Al's been on it, you know, forever, and I know some other people here are very supportive of the ag, you know, in town. I think it's super important. I mean, we've done a lot of homework, and we've been looking at other towns that are similar to our nature, but I really think just as simple as going next door to our neighbor and copying exactly what they have, so.
It is, they looked at it over there, you know, and it's, you know, well done. You know, they have the $100,000 exemption, you know, for the farm buildings, and, you know, farming is a gamble.
Right.
The farmer will say that, you know, one year I can make money, and the next 3 I can lose money. And, you know, where you have an exemption like this, that can keep them operating when you have those years.
Exactly.
I think that's critical, and that's what's helped them over there.
Right, and it could be as
sustain
simple,
that.
yeah.
And we need to adopt something like this.
I agree 100%. I mean, just simple things that the local farmer putting their own roof on his own house.
Yeah,
It's either that or put a crop in the ground, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it's they put the crop in the ground.
that's right.
So, you know, you want to, you know, I think it's a home run for you as a board to support that plan of conservation and development. You know, and this is nothing but to save the culture and the agriculture of the town. I really, you know, we feel as a commission, you know, we've been at it for a while, and we really love your support on this, and whatever you need from us, I'm sure
What would you
we'll.
propose to do? Have the commission draw up something like this for review?
Well, if I may interrupt, I was thinking about this, and I did talk to Kurt earlier, and he said it would be okay if we formed a committee, and maybe one of us from the board can be on the committee, and some people from the Agricultural Commission could be on it, and put together a draft for East Windsor ordinance that would kind of mimic Ellington, and then we can go from there. That's kind of a plan, but if you want to add something.
Well, we have our regular meeting nights once a month. I wouldn't think it'd take really much more than a Word document and change Ellington to East Windsor, and then go through the protocol of, you know, the town meetings, and that even on there, you know, we just go through that process. I really think it's a home run, and I don't think anybody that's in the ag business at all would deny the fact. That would be very helpful. Like I said, I think any farmer in this town knows the inevitable Route 5 and 140 scenario. But there's got to be some, you know, if there's going to be give over there, you know, you got to save the land in this town. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think this is a great start.
It is.
Okay, I agree. So I'll make a motion. I move we create a farm building tax exemption committee. The committee will consist of 3 to 5 members and be charged with developing a draft farm building tax ordinance for the town of East Windsor and give it to the Board of Selectmen. The committee meeting dates and times and place will be determined by the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And do I have a volunteer? All right. All right. So Steve's part of your committee.
All right.
I'd like to say something about
Sure.
this too. I got some stuff from DEP. A lot of people think because we have agriculture, the town isn't making any money off the land because of the 490 program, which gives the farmer a tax break so we can afford to keep the land. In fact, the way they explained it, I got the stuff in my office, that the town makes more money by keeping the land in agriculture. And the reason for that is, like you know, over in Windsorville now, they're building all those houses over there.
Worst kind of farm.
On that farm, flat as a pool table, beautiful land. And the reason, the way they put it was, every house is gonna have probably a couple of kids or more. Okay, now those kids are gonna go to school. Okay? Any money that you would have received in taxes off that house, you're losing. It's gonna cost 3 or 4 more times to put the 2 kids through school than the taxes you're gonna collect on that house. So by having a lot of housing and having these farms disappear, it eventually just costs the town more and more money in the end. So if we can keep the farmland here, keep us a farming community, we're better off.
Well, thank you for that.
Just some interesting information. I was going to talk about it at the time when I was going to talk to the EDC, but I talked to the fellow who is developing that area you're talking about, Steve, on East Road, Hamlet Home, and he's going to put in 21 houses there. They're about 2,000, 2,200 square foot houses. He's got 11 sold right now. He built 10 houses in Suffield, and all 10 of those were purchased by young people of childbearing age. I asked him what he thought the mix would be here in East Windsor, and he said, I really don't know. I thought it was going to be high like it was in Suffield. But he said right now, about 30% of the houses I've sold are to young people in that category. But he said, I really think by the time we're done, it's going to be more like half of the people of those homes we own by people of childbearing age, particularly in the cul-de-sac area that's going to lead off in that direction. If you do that, if there are 10 homes that are owned by people of that age, they're, according to the U.S. Bureau of Statistics, there are 2.2 children per home with people who are of childbearing age. In the town of East Windsor, it costs us $17,800 a child to educate them. If you run those numbers out, that's a near $400,000 cost to the town to educate those children. And I said it to the Board of Finance, for every home you build, to have that house become revenue neutral, that home has to have a taxable asset, a taxable value of over $1.3 million. So what Steve is saying is right. I'll say it again because I get off my soapbox. The best thing of all in the world is to bring in a business, because they send no kids to school. Probably the second best thing is to have it in agricultural, because they don't send kids to school either. And as much as I'd like to see nice homes built in East Windsor, someplace along the line, we have to get the right mix, or else we're going to run into a disaster. I know a fellow who is on planning and zoning in South Windsor, and he said they are really struggling right now. They are building homes all over South Windsor, including apartments where there are young families, and he said that they are going to have to expand their school system. That's unheard of in Connecticut. Most of the school systems are going down, but in South Windsor, because of the building of homes, it's actually going to go up. and it's gonna take a good-sized toll on their tax rate in town. So, I think what Kirk said is right, and what Steve said is correct also. We really have to have the right mix, and we have to pay attention to making sure that we retain a substantial amount of farmland here in town. We have an ideal setup for that. We have a business zone along Route 5, 91, and Route 140, but as you go more east, you get into the area where it is farmland, and if we're not careful, that'll get consumed by developers who will build homes there, and it could be costly.
I agree with what you're saying. Well, okay,
And this is a tool that can help us maintain that farmland.
Well, we could double what they have on there. That would be really appealing to the agricultural world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's take a break now, and we're going to have a town meeting.
Thank you for your time.
So,
We do?
yes, you do. You're part of the audience now.
I'm an audience guy.
I have some items that, we're going to do 3 items. Does anybody want to make motions?
Oh, the third one.
You'll do the third. You want to do a motion to sell your house next to yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Wrong one? Okay, we're good.
Okay. Okay, a supplemental appropriation. Why don't you come over and sit next to me? This is Kim Yepling. She's our new assistant town clerk. She'll be the town clerk for this meeting. First thing we're going to do is elect a moderator. I'll put, yeah.
I nominate Bob Maynard as moderator.
Oh, there are further nominations.
Second on
Okay.
Bob. Rebecca Calamini.
Paul Anderson.
That's right. We should go slowly. so.
I know.
And I should say that. That's, I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, close enough. Government work, you know. And we should vote, so if there's any other nominations.
I move the nominations be closed.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, close enough. All set?
Yes.
All right, so now, this is your task. You have to read the public notice. All right.
Town of East Windsor, public town meeting notice. The legal voters of the town of East Windsor are hereby warned that a town meeting will be held at the Town Hall, 11 Rise Street, Broadbrook, Connecticut, on Thursday, May 3rd, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. for the following. Item 1, to consider and approve the sale of property located at 76 Depot Street, Broadbrook, Matt Lot 099540007 to American Rehab LLC in the amount of $55,000. Item 2, to consider and approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $46,166.37 for the settlement agreement between the Town of East Windsor and Attorney John Watts. Item 3, to consider and approve the proposed illicit discharge and connection stormwater ordinance dated at East Windsor, Connecticut on this 26th day of April 2018. East Windsor Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. And I'll read the statement for eligibility to vote. At any town meeting other than a regular or special town election or any meeting of any fire, sewer, or school district or any municipal subdivision or any town incorporated by any special act, any person who is elector of such town may vote, and any citizen of the United States of age 18 years or more who jointly or severally is liable to the town, district, or subdivision for taxes assessed against him on an assessment not less than $1,000 on the last completed grand list of such town, district, subdivision, who would be so liable if not entitled to an exemption under state general statute subdivision 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, 26, or section 12 of section 12E1 may vote unless restricted by provisions of any special act relating to such town, district, or subdivision. Okay, now we'll hear the first item to be considered.
All right, Dixie Lanfear, 78 Depot Street. Okay, this is for the, consider and approve the sale of property located at 76 Depot Street, Broadbrook, Matt Block Lot 099/54-007 to the American Rehab LLC in the amount of $55,000.
Second.
I didn't
You
say
say-
anything yet.
I thought you were making the motion.
Okay, so, and then you say, I move the
I knew
resolution.
that it go forward. That it
Okay,
be
and-
adopted.
May I have your last name?
Lamphere, Lamphear.
Second. Sorry about that.
Okay, now discussion. Okay, yeah, Dixie.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I did do some checking on it. It was very hard to find, but I ended up going to the Secretary of Connecticut. They have a listing for the companies. And I found the person, and then I was able to like kind of check him out. He's in Enfield, and it looks like, what I could tell, it's just a company that does like rehab, like you suggested at the last meeting, yeah. So, and then I gave you the information. Did you ever get in touch?
I did. And
Good.
so I called this gentleman, his name's Thomas Joy, and he is indeed a company that flips houses.
Okay.
But it was good and interesting. He wanted to tell me all about the house, that what he was going to do, and he plans to remodel it to be the circa 1920, I guess, like it is. He said all the fixtures in the house are going to be 1920, and it's going to be, I guess it'd be reproductions. So it should be really a very nice house when it's done. So then he plans to sell it, and that's what he said. So
Thank you for checking.
yeah, you're welcome. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Number 2.
Rachel Safford, 136 Phelps Road.
Last name again?
Safford.
S-A-F-F.
S-A-F-F-O-R-D.
Thank you.
To consider and approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $46,166.37 for the settlement agreement between the Town of East Windsor and Attorney John Watts. I move the foregoing resolution be adopted.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Sarah Musco, 25 Maple Avenue.
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
Sarah Musco. Discussion, yes.
Yeah, Marie D'Souza, 10 Rice Road, Broadbrook. On page 5, 7, and 9, it alludes to Kemet property, SJK, and then Kemet properties. It says that the tolling agreement is part of that, although there's been no settlement made. My question to you is, if this gets approved tonight, are we approving the expenditure that you may agree with Watts later on without knowing what that amount is?
We have not made a settlement with Watts, and what I would ask you to come forward, Steve. Steve Mitnick is our attorney who negotiated this with Watts. So, and he wrote the settlement agreement that's here. So, any questions about the settlement agreement, I'm sure that he can answer much better than I can.
Right, so on page 5, just to be a little bit specific, on page 5, paragraph 5, it says, the parties now desire to settle the controversy between them relating to the fees cost generated by Watts and due and owned by the town with the exception of SJK, which is Stanley Kemet, properties which remain in litigation. And it proceeds to go on, says, those shall be subject to the tolling provisions of this agreement. That's my first question. Why would we have that part of the tolling agreement when the tolling agreement doesn't give fault to anyone and there's been some...
It's a tolling agreement that permits the town to move forward with the litigation.
Without anyone taking any responsibility.
Well, it's not a function of responsibility. The case remains in court. SJK is a very complicated case. The demands in that case are
there's
very
been meetings in
high.
Bob's office with them,
Yeah,
and
and
the rumor mills and all of that, so I'm quite
I
concerned.
don't know the rumors. But
Well, and I'm not going to say them because they're rumors, but I'm concerned, so I'm looking for the information.
It's a significant case, and what I had to make a judgment as I was negotiating all the other cases that were sitting out there. We took a look at the low-hanging fruit. We took a look at the cases that where the town had significant amounts of money in escrow. The town has escrows. The town attorney has escrows, and Mr. Watts has escrows. And I examined all of the cases, made a determination in all of those cases that it was appropriate that he be paid. He had legal agreements with the city, and there was nothing wrong with the way he conducted himself in those cases. So those were the first set of cases which will not cost the town any money because it's about $40,000 or so of escrow monies that are sitting there. The second set of cases that we're here tonight for are a series of cases where there had been significant involvement by Attorney Watts, but he was terminated during his involvement in those cases. It could have saved the town a lot of money if whoever made the determination about terminating his services had made a more prudential judgment about keeping him on in cases where there was no problem, and just let him get paid out of the foreclosure cases by the taxpayer, not by the town. There was one case where he actually got a court award, but the money never went to him. It went to another law firm that works with the city, and that money should have been given to him without cost the town any money. It would have gone to him directly. And so we made a determination working with the tax collector very diligently, and we spent a lot of time on this matter over the last almost 2 years now. That's how we came up with the settlement of those cases. In most of those cases, there are award of costs and attorney's fees that he is entitled to, so that if we said we don't want to pay it, and he went to court, we would be spending a lot more money defending the city in those court cases, a lot more than the $40,000+ that you're asking you to approve this evening. SJK is a very complicated case. It involves a lot of money. His legal claims are very, very substantial. The town attorney is involved in the case. I don't know if there's insurance counsel. There might be insurance counsel involved in the case to defend the city's interest, the town's interest in that case. And I have talked to the first selectman. I might have talked to members of the board of selectmen. I have some theories about how we might be able to go in there and deal with the case, but if we were trying to settle that case with the tax litigation and all of the claims that SJK has against the town, we never would have settled these cases, and we would be basically inviting a lawsuit by Attorney Watts.
But yet in this document it says that he has the right, if this is approved, that tolling agreement, he can cancel out of that at any time he wants, but yet we have that Kemet put in part of the tolling agreement.
Well,
I
the
just
tolling
don't
case,
understand
the
it.
tolling agreement benefits the town because there's been some delays in the case, and what it basically says is that we reserve all of our rights against Watts. We're not suggesting otherwise in terms of fighting him where we think that his fees are excessive. I would think that if the town were working with the tax collector and the taxpayer and coming to an agreement, and the impediment at that point was a substantial claim by Watts.
And I'm not disputing that, I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is the fact that he has the right to drop out of this tolling agreement. He's been excluded, but yet he's part of this agreement. Why do we even have him in here?
He's part of the tolling agreement. The tolling agreement.
Exactly, and I question why. Why should he be part of the tolling agreement if you're still in litigation with him?
Well, we're
Not
technically.
Watts, I'm saying Kemet.
Oh, the tolling agreement is not with us and Kemet. The tolling agreement is with us and Watts.
I understand that, but your tolling agreement on here on page 5, 7, and 9 has him that litigation part of this tolling agreement.
Yeah, because it preserves our rights
But yet-
against Watts during the pendency of that case. It has nothing to do with
So
Kemet.
my
There's no
question-
relief for
so my
Kemet,
question to you
SJK
then,
at all in this.
Make it simple, if this is approved tonight,
Yeah.
and you make an agreement between October of 2019, when this agreement is supposed to be over, and say Kemet wants $3 million. I'm just throwing a number out there, that's not true, I'm just saying $3 million. And you guys say that's it. Does that mean it doesn't come back to the town?
Oh, no,
That he
not at
gets
all.
that
Not
automatically
at
because
all.
this is approved?
Kemet, SJK?
Yeah.
No. There's no agreement with SJK regarding any resolution of the case on SJK. The town, I'm not involved in that case, so I can't give you, and I'm sorry I can't, and if I knew this question would come up, I might have talked to the town attorney about it. This has nothing to do with settlement. There's nothing in this agreement that deals with SJK's rights. As far as I know, this town is going to be prosecuting that case, it's going to talk
But
to the tax collector.
Watts is right.
Well,
What's
Watts,
happening with SJK
the issue Watts
is
has in that
talking-
case is Watts has a claim for legal fees. And that claim for legal fees is going to have to be adjudicated at some point by the court. It's either going to be resolved through a settlement, if the town can come to a settlement with the taxpayer. Part of that settlement is going to have to be Watts's fees. And I would expect, and the tax collector could correct me if I'm wrong, that the town will do everything that they can to make sure that the taxpayer pays those fees, not the town paying. Am I correct, Patty? Yeah. So the town is going to vigorously prosecute that case. The town is going to vigorously do everything they can to reduce Watts's payments. From the very beginning, when I first saw that, I thought the payments in that case were excessive. But we can't settle that case because he is a necessary party intertwined in the SJK dispute with the town of East Windsor. This agreement, I can assure you, I put my license on the line in this one, I assure you that there's nothing in this agreement that nullifies or inhibits our ability, this town's ability, to prosecute that case against SJK.
I have a question. Who are the defendants in this case that's being settled? Or these cases? Who are the defendants there?
They're listed in the agreement. I can go down the whole list.
All right.
There's 20 different parties.
Okay. The real, well, there's not a simple answer. There's a lot of defendants. Who are the defendants in the Kemet case? Do you know?
I believe SJK, is it SJK is the only defendant in that case? Well, actually, they made claims.
The town's a defendant.
Barney,
Yeah.
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm not involved in that case. That was not part of the settlement. We specifically excluded that from this. But I do know that I have been assured that the town is prosecuting that case, and I've offered my services to see if I can help mediate, resolve that at some point. But we want to get this out of the way, and then the town can decide how it wants to go.
So you're telling us that this is a reasonable settlement under all the circumstances with all these cases?
It's a very reasonable settlement. He had claims. We had, we went to his office on a couple of occasions. I went with the former treasurer and the tax collector. We talked him down on a number of cases where we thought that his fees were excessive. I don't think there's one case that I can point to that we're recommending the town meeting support today. And I went to your Board of Selectmen and your Board of Finance with the same representation where I felt that the fees were excessive. We had one dispute at the end, it was the last matter we settled involving what they call the unknown properties. It was a kind of a complicated mishmash of a case that kind of changed its legal posture several times in the case, where he's getting more than we thought he would have gotten at the beginning, but he was asked to do different things as he went through the case. He wanted about $10,000 more than what we, about $12,000 more than what we gave him. So we talked him down out of $12,000 on that. That was the case that I thought was the only egregious case where I thought his fee was high. And we talked him down to a level that I thought was a reasonable level.
But he was litigating for fees that he was probably entitled to across the board.
If he had not been terminated summarily,
Right.
if he was not just thrown out of the town because somebody decided to throw him out of doing town work, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be here today. SJK would still be here probably, but we wouldn't be here today having this discussion, with all due respect. Any other questions? Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I have to say, I just, what happened is when I came in, took office, this attorney, Watts, had been terminated, and he said, basically, well, okay, you terminated me, but you owe me $300,000. And I said, well, that's no good. And we got Steve Medic to go talk to him, and there was one, as you pointed out, one big case, the Chemic case, and we couldn't settle that. So we said, okay, let's take all that $300,000 and anything except for the Chemic case. Let's settle the whole thing except for the Chemic case. And Steve and our tax collector and town treasurer and assessor went through all the fees he claimed, and as Steve mentioned, some of the money was collected and held in escrow in various places, so we were able to pay a lot of his fees out of the escrow, and it turned out that the final settlement, if we give him $46,000 and $46,166.37, then we'll settle all the claims he has against it, except the Chemic case, and that's wide open, and that's still, it involves everything it did before we tried to settle the other cases with him. It's just separated from our cases, and now, so the only contention that Watts has with the town now is just the Chemic case, and that is being handled by our town attorney at this time. Have I said that correctly? Okay. So any more questions? All right, then I would call for a vote. So all those in favor of settling this Watts case, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? It passes. All right, now on to item number 3.
Item 3, to consider and approve the proposed illicit discharge and connection stormwater ordinance. I move the foregoing resolution be adopted. Rebecca Talamy.
Second.
Okay. Sarah Muska again. Discussion. I'll just say that this is something that was brought before the Board of Selectmen by Len Norton, and it's kind of a boilerplate thing that the state wants us to pass, an ordinance, and it says it prohibits the elimination of illicit, to prohibit and eliminate illicit connections and discharges to the municipal separate stormwater sewage. So they don't want people to dump pollutants into the stormwater sewage. So that's what this ordinance is about. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Make a motion, we adjourn, Bill Lopes.
Second.
Rebecca? Meeting's adjourned. Bill Rose.
Want this back? I'll give it to you, Dave. This one, Dave.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion to establish the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor? Okay. Next topic is the Fire Department Funding Subcommittee. And I know that Andy and you, Charlie, volunteered to look into the funding of our fire departments.
Yes.
So I will make a motion and then we'll second it and we can discuss it. And this is my motion. I move to create a fire department funding subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen. The fire department funding subcommittee shall consist of Charlie Szymanski, Andy Hoffman, and Robert Maynard. The subcommittee will be, unless you want it, do you want to be on that committee?
What is this committee gonna do?
Okay, well, maybe, let's discuss it, and then we'll make the motion.
Yeah, let's discuss.
We're gonna, I think, that and maybe, well, Andy, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think there's an equity between the two sides of town. The people in Rouse's Point pay additional taxes for their fire protection. This side of town, the Rawbrook section, does not. It would seem to me that in order to do it correctly, that there would be a fire district town-wide, or the option is to leave it as it is, for sure. But I think leaving it as it is places a burden on the people in Warehouse Point that is not laid on the people in East Windsor. So what I would hope, I think that in a general sense, that the fire departments on an operational basis work pretty well together. That doesn't mean that we can work out something equitable for the management of those departments, but it's sure worth a try to try to make both sides of the town match each other. And it requires, I think, some independent viewing of it. I'm not, although there's been a lot of work done by the two fire departments, I think it requires kind of an independent assessment on the part of people who stand outside of that loop to try to bring closure to that. It is not something that has not been tried before, so it apparently is not it's not a simple issue. But I think paying for the Broadway Fire Department out of town coffers and making the people in Warehouse Point pay for the fire protection there out of their own pocket is wrong.
You know, I agree with that, and I have been attending the Warehouse Point monthly meeting, and my understanding from them is that there is some interest in, have been some discussions, preliminary discussions with both departments on their own to do something there. So I think, am I right, Jim? You know, and so I think, you know, Andy and I can work together with them and hopefully come to something that seems to be the right thing for both organizations in the town, is what our intent is. And to have this accomplished, we're going to have some timestamps here.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just a discussion, so that whatever we find, we have to have it, you know, in plenty of time before next year's budget, so that gets part of the budget next year, no matter what happens.
We just kicked the can down the road this year. We said, same old, same old. And
Yeah.
if that's okay, that's okay. But we should do it with the knowledge it's the best we can do.
Steve, you want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something. You know, that Warehouse Point Fire Department, they blamed the Board of Selectmen for what happened over there. It's not our fault, what happened over there. They got a fire district, they got more power than the town of East Windsor, they can do what they want. First year they taxed, it was $400,000, then the next year it went to $600,000. And then they just had a vote on their budget again, which, what, 26 people voted yes and one voted no because nobody showed up to vote. So it tells me they don't care if they pay taxes over there. I care if I pay taxes over here. I care. And so I'll bet you the 6 people that voted yes were probably all fire people and family and everything else over there. Now, it went from 4 to 6. With this year's new budget, what did it go to, Jim? How much did you go up this year? 4 to 6, and what is it this?
74,000.
Huh?
74,000, I believe, we went up. That's only because we're doing a roof project on Station 2.
So basically, you went from 400,000 to 600 second year, and this year it's 670,000.
I think your 400,000 number's wrong also.
681. It's
681?
681? No, it's 651.
That was close, 6.
Whichever, it's a number.
The original tax down there was like 400 grand on the people. Then last year it went to about 600 grand, it went up about 200,000 more on the people. So there's no stopping a fire district from taxing all they want. You guys can do what you want. You can build the Taj Mahal. You can have a fully chromed out fire truck. Whatever you want to do to those people down there, you can do it. Now, I don't want to be involved in that. I want to see it gone. And all the people have to do is show up and they can vote that fire district right out of there. But why don't they show up and do it? I don't get it down there. What's wrong with those people? Okay? What's wrong with them? Get out there and vote. 27 people to vote the budget in? That's ridiculous. That's the problem with this town. Nobody gets out and votes on things. How are they notified? Was there any signs put out to come and vote? Did they even know there was a vote going on? How much was it publicized to get these people out and vote? But I'll tell you right now, I'm against this, okay? No, I don't even want to be part of your committee because I know what you guys think. You want to have this side become a fire district. Never going to happen because you'll need the people over here to vote on it. They're not going to vote for a fire district over here. It ain't going to happen. My advice to the Warehouse Point Fire Department is get rid of your game over there with taxing the people, call it the East Windsor Fire Department, and let the town run that department. Now, I know that department needs more money than over here. Okay, that's all right. More busy over there. More buildings. You need different equipment. Over here, we're farming still in small buildings. But the tax has to go. And you say it isn't fair to the people? No, it's not fair to the people. But I didn't create that. I didn't create being unfair to those people. But we've been accused up here, before you guys got up here, that it's your fault. I know whose fault it was. I'm not going to say it here, but that's how I feel about it, guys.
Steve, you're making the assumption that...
No, you're not going to change my mind on this one, Andy, so don't even try it, please.
Let me just say something.
Don't try it.
But just listen.
It is what it is.
You're making the assumption that we would be in favor of a fire district across the town. I'm not sure about that. I really am not sure.
I'm not in favor of giving them the same money that Broadbrook gets. Because I've said it before. So you give them the 400 and so thousand, and they can still keep raising that fire tax. You can't stop them. You understand that part? You cannot stop them.
I do understand that.
You can't stop them.
But it would be fair.
No.
Okay.
I'm not for it.
Okay,
That's the
fine.
way it is, guys.
Steve, I don't have any plan in mind. I don't think of one district.
Get rid of the fire district. Get rid of it.
That's an option.
We need to look at this to bring equity to all the taxpayers. That's what my goal is.
And that may be to eliminate the fire district.
You gotta get the people out there and vote. To vote it out.
Steve, you're the biggest guy making signs in the world. Put your signs out, telling what to do. That helps.
If I put my mind to it, I could get rid of the fire district.
If that's the right thing to do.
All it takes is the
welcome
vote of the
aboard.
people. I could get rid of that fire district.
If that's the right
But
thing.
what I'm concerned about is that both fire districts are properly funded.
Well, me too. I'm not against, shorting one over the other, but obviously it takes more money to run the one in Warehouse Point than it does the one in Broadbrook. We know that. That's logic. It's logical.
Okay,
We
well,
know that.
We're gonna make a committee, we got time to work this out. That's what we're gonna do.
You guys don't want me on your committee. Because of
We can talk you into it then?
I don't,
then
no, you're not
get on the
talking me
game.
into it.
Well,
I'd
You'll
like to
never
have you
do
on the
it.
committee,
You
Steve.
talk
I
me
really
into a
would.
lot of things, but this one you're not gonna do.
Well, but you could contribute.
Plain and simple.
All right, well, we'll invite you to our meetings. How's that? All right, so back to my motion then.
We're gonna sell you that Buick yet.
Yeah, I move we create a fire department funding subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen. The fire department funding subcommittee shall consist of Charlie Szymanski, Andy Hoffman, and Robert Maynard. The subcommittee will be charged with providing equitable fire department funding for the town of East Windsor. The subcommittee meeting dates, times, and place will be determined by the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
No, whatever you guys decide to come up with, this still has to go to a public hearing.
Oh,
And-
in fact, yes.
And the people can give their input again, and then it's all gotta be voted on, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
Never survive.
Okay. Well, if we can convince you, then we got a shot.
Point of order, Bob?
Yes.
With 3 selectmen on that board, does that qualify as a selectmen's meeting?
Yes, it does. And we'd have to notify that.
But Bob, does it really?
Well, yes, it absolutely does.
It is not our meeting, it's a
No,
subcommittee.
it would, if I'm included in this subcommittee, then when the 3 of us meet, we'll have to notice that 24 hours in advance as a special meeting of the subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
If the 2 fire departments were to form this committee to try to work out the differences, and they put the 3 of us on that committee, would it then represent a Board of Selectmen meeting? I don't think so. Because it is not our meeting.
Well,
You 3 can't meet in the hallway together without a constitutional meeting.
I'm sorry?
You 3 can't even meet in the
Oh,
hallway.
well, wait a minute. I think we probably shouldn't. We should probably postpone this discussion until we get a legal. I mean, we don't have legal representation here, although Keith's a lawyer. But so let's vote on the motion, and then we'll determine. We can answer that question. We can always
Say
dissolve.
one more thing. They did have a committee once before that they
Right.
had, and they came up with, solutions and ideas and the whole 9 yards, and Hawks Lad was involved in that, with his opinions and whatever, and it never went anywhere. Never went anywhere.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Steve, it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make it better. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make it better.
I think it has to start with the Warehouse Point Fire Department.
Well,
It may.
it may.
They've got a, I don't know what they've got to do.
Okay. Well, let's vote.
I don't either.
What's the motion again?
Okay, the motion is to create a fire department funding subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen, subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen. On that committee will be Charlie Szymanski, Andy Hoffman, and myself. The subcommittee will be charged with providing equitable fire department funding for the town of East Windsor. We will meet whenever we want to meet.
Right, but that wasn't what was originally discussed previously. That was how to make the residents of Warehouse Point, because the complaint...
Okay, all we're trying to do is define, and this isn't public participation. So,
But you opened it up when you allowed somebody to speak.
my mistake, I apologize. So, I would entertain a vote on the subcommittee. If there's no more discussion. Jamie, Charlie?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay. Now we'll go on to the Charter Revision Committee. And what I'd say is that we're going to make the Charter Revision Committee next meeting, which is May 17th, I believe. And we'll have, right now we got 13 applications to be on this Charter Revision Committee. So we're going to stop taking applications the Friday before that meeting, and I think that would be, let's get the dates here. Okay, so, yeah, so Friday the 11th will be the last day you can submit an application. And we'll put that on the website tomorrow and put it on Facebook. And what I'd like to do tonight is go through the charge, and I put it in the package, the charge that the Board of Selectmen is going to give this subcommittee. When we create it on the 17th, we'll give them a charge. And on this charge that you should have, there's 9 items. So if you want to add something or change something, let me know and we'll read it. First item, the changes to the charter should be separate so residents can vote on the changes separately in a referendum, and if one change is defeated, the defeated change will not affect other changes that pass the referendum vote. Number 2, examine the budget default. Consider, should the number of budget referendums be limited? And then there's a couple other points there. If the number of budget referendums is limited, what should the number of referendums be? If the number of budget referendums is limited, what should the default be? Clarify the method of allocating default budget money across departments. Okay, number 3. Address the ambiguities in the charter as follows. Utilize Unicode system for maintaining charter ordinances and ordinances online. Identify specific state statutes applicable to the charter provisions. Identify specific state statutes for the establishment of boards, commissions. Codify all ordinances. Okay, number 4. Consider a charter provision for a position that will research, organize, save, and make available information that is of value to the town. Number 5, revise, clarify requirements for budget narratives throughout the budget process describing requests, reasons for the budget increases and decreases, and reasons for cutting and increasing requests. Okay, number 6, clarify the town attorney selection process and term of service. Number 7, consider the charter provisions for a shared services commission. Number 8, reduce the number of signatures required for a pension referendum. I misspoke. Reduce the number of signatures required for a petitioning referendum. And finally, clarify the town's procurement process, purchasing, and external department operation audit procedures. And that's it. Does anybody want to add any other charge? Okay, so if there's no more changes, let's vote on this charge.
I have a question. I, for a long time, have believed that in the vote for the budget, that there should be line item approvals. Is that a proper thing to put in the charter charge?
Okay, yeah.
There are lots of towns that do that. And recently, in the Hartford Current, there was an article that talked about, I think it was the town of New Britain that does that. It gives the voters an opportunity to say whether they want to do this or that. And it may just plain avoid a total no vote on a budget.
I guess I'm not familiar with that, how they do that, but if you have a line item or whatever it is, and it's defeated, then what's the process after that?
I think what you do, Charlie, and I don't really know the right answer to that. I know, for example, in a little town up in Maine, I have a friend who was effective first selectman for a while, and they had like 20 line items. It was anything from school to a transfer station that they were going to spend like $500,000 on. When that transfer station for rubbish got defeated, it was resubmitted by the Board of Finance, if you will, in that town, at some reduced scope and some reduced dollar value, and sent back in to another vote.
Okay. I guess I'm thinking about when we went through the budgeting process, and you recall how many line items there are. That's what I'm saying. You know, is it a general line item for?
I think it is where it's possible you do that at the highest level.
Yeah.
Where there is something specific that the governing body, the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance, wants to bring up separately. I think you can then introduce that separately. Again, talking from conversation, they actually up there approved a single snow plowing dump truck. Now, that's a lot of money, probably $150K or something like that.
We got items in this one that was mailed out to everybody with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd say let's just do it, let's add it to that, and then, you know, the committee can
Yeah, that's what
go
I would.
through it and bring it out and see what
Okay, so
comes.
I think it's worth trying to understand how it would work in our town and trying to understand if it's an executable process.
Okay, so let's get the wording right then. So consider line items on the budget that goes to referendum?
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
line item approval, I think.
Consider line item approval.
Yes, Steve?
I know where you want to, what you want to do, but is there some way, I guess some towns do this, their general government budget is voted on separately from the school budget.
Right.
But that would allow that, if that's...
Yeah, but can we do that in this town?
Yes.
Can we set it up that way where it'd be two different votes?
And those would be different line items. Those would be...
I think it would sure and hell make the budget process go a lot smoother.
The committee
if you could separate the two.
The committee discussed doing that, and by the consensus, it wasn't felt that was desirable. And I don't know if Keith still here, or John want to comment on that. John?
Wake up.
John, are you still with us?
Time to go home.
About separating the general government budget from the school budget so it could be voted on each one would be voted
as a separate line item.
I believe it was on our original list.
Yeah.
We had 25 suggestions, which we reduced to the list that we have today. It leads to a lot of controversy. It certainly could be considered again with the next group, whoever that group is.
What would be the controversy, John?
The concern of one side or the other depriving the other side of not getting what they want. You know, if you had a strong taxpayer association, might deny the school board what they need, and vice versa. If you have a strong parents association, might deny the town what it needs.
Yeah, that was more of it.
But isn't that what the town hall form of government's all about?
It is.
Having the option to say yes or no on things that are important to you or me, and it might be different.
Yeah, it goes to the issue of how many referendums do you want to have? And if you go back to 2007, where it was concluded that it wasn't very effective to extend referendums into August, September, October. Let's get the answer in June, and we'll all live with it. So I don't know how you would implement this with the current rule of defaulting to the 2% after 3 referendum votes.
But John, wouldn't that be still possible? The study committee recommended going from 3 to 2 failed referendums to a budget. Why would it not apply if I want to buy a dump truck? Why would it not, why would it not apply there? It's the same thing, but it's a microcosm of the bigger picture.
What would you do at the default end of it? These things that you haven't passed, just would get nothing? Would get 2%?
No, I think you still probably have to throw it back onto the finance committee when, if a line item fails twice in accordance with the new proposed methodology, then I think you then take that item and you then turn it back to the finance committee and say, do your magic with it. It's no different than, except we're doing it on a much bigger basis today. It's one big number, and they have to do their magic with it.
Sure.
I think it's something we could consider. I think the committee can consider.
Yes.
And they can.
I'm not sure it's
There's
right.
a deal of complexity to it, but they'll have 6 or 8 months to thrash it around.
Yep.
If you want to put that as a judge, sure, certainly appropriate.
Okay. So what I'll add to the budget, number 5, I'll add, consider line item approval on the budget that goes to the referendum. Okay, I'll add that sentence. So with that sentence added, I would make a motion to approve the Charter Revision Commission charge for the from the Board of Selectmen to May 2018 to be as amended, to be approved.
May I just say one thing before we vote? This is not cast in stone. As time goes on, if we find that this should be altered, there's got to be some mechanism for saying, line 3 should be modified, paragraph 3 should be modified to say this instead of that.
Okay, well, I don't understand, so let's talk about it a little bit, because I think we have to give them a charge, what to do.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Once we give them the charge, we can't go back and change the charge, I don't.
We can change it.
I don't know.
I would think we can.
No, I don't think you can.
Unless you add to the end of it, to also be inclusive of other recommendations.
Well, I'll tell you then.
I mean, you could say that.
No, I don't want to muddy the water. If that's not appropriate, then we shouldn't do it. It's just that when you undertake a job, I don't care whether it's building something or
well, I hear what you're saying. I kind of agree with that.
All I'm saying is that as you go along, you're smarter and you can make it a little bit better.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if there's some mechanism here where we can make it better going along the way.
We'll add number 10, and and it will say the charge can be amended.
Yeah, but they're not gonna, they don't have to take every one of these, they can change things
No,
around.
they can say some
Just
things.
an idea to give them.
It's kind of a shopping list.
Yeah.
And we may want to add to the shopping list.
Or take
They
things
want to
away.
take something off the shopping list.
Right, so.
That's all I'm saying.
You have to follow the charge. Well, how about if I say the charge can be amended by the Board of Selectmen? Number 10.
I think you want to change that to say something that to be inclusive of alterations or other recommendations by the commission. Because you want to have them doing it while they're doing it.
Talk a little more about that. If we give a charge to the Charter Revision Commission, they can't investigate other things than we've asked them to investigate.
Yes, they can.
They can.
It's wide open, they can do anything they want.
These are just suggestions
Okay,
that we're going to
they're
give
just
to them.
suggestions.
And as far as I can see, we're out of it once we hand it over to these people. It's up to them to go and study all of this and see how they want to change things. This is a suggestion that we're giving to the new commission.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think we have to itemize.
Well, at least it gives them an item, well,
Yeah, you can.
If I could comment,
yeah.
the statute requires the commission to address each of those issues that they've been charged with and to provide a written report for them. They are not obligated to go forward with any of them, and they're free to go to separate issues, bring forward additional issues. But obviously, they're going to, ultimately, you approve the questions that will go to the voters. So obviously, there's going to be deference to your charge.
It sounds, John, like you're saying that methodology of making changes is already there. We don't need to do anything with it. You can make it.
There will be several public hearings, and there will be open public participation in every meeting, of which the selectmen can come and say, we'd like to add this. Or you can send a letter to the commission.
Okay. Then it sounds like that isn't really necessary.
Okay.
You agree?
Yeah.
All right, so then I'll make a motion that we approve the Charter Revision Commission charge from the Board of Selectmen for May 2018 as amended, and the only amendment was to consider the line item approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in, if there's any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay. Approval of tax refunds. You want to do that?
I didn't have those.
Yeah. All right. Make a motion that we accept the tax refunds in the amount of $410.75.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Selectmen reports. Jason's not here, so Charlie?
Yeah, I had some conversation about in the town hall here that we should have some what I would call publicity about the schools, and by that I mean that recognition for the schools, and that we have a bulletin board here, or it's on the electronic board, you know, something that would say, you know, pride in East Windsor schools, and under that would have all the students that have achieved to be on the honor roll in the school, and that you get people coming into the town hall looking at, you know, whether they're buy property, you get real estate agents and so forth, and I think we want to say something positive, and that's a big positive.
That's a great idea.
And I think if, you know, to publish that here, like I said, whether it's a hard copy on the wall here, but something that titles it as pride in East Windsor schools. And, there'd be some takeaway from, students knowing that their name is in the town hall, and I think you get something for it. I think that's a positive thing for people.
It's all part of, if you think your organization is good, it's a hell of a good start. Because it gets better, doesn't it? Just because you think it's good. And, like there was I think it's a young lady here in town who was selected as one of the, I think, 10 best basketball players in the state of Connecticut, high school basketball players in the state of Connecticut. That's a pretty big honor. And, Charlie and I have talked about this a little bit here tonight. He's talking about having it inside the town hall. I'd like to see an electronic sign outside the town hall. I don't know if we can do that kind of thing, but why not advertise how good we are?
I agree.
Where the people can see it. Yeah. If as I said before, once you get the right mindset, people want to belong.
I think, I'll see what I can do. I'll come back to the next meeting.
And Bob, you and I've had a conversation about the school system, and, you've said that it is making dramatic strides in the right direction to become a better and better school system. I'd like to I want to go talk to the superintendent and find out more about that. But that's great. The perception is that our school system here in town is not so good. And if she's making steps in the right direction, somehow we should give that lady credit for it, and the town should take credit for the fact that it's getting better.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll pursue it.
Okay.
Okay, Steve. So there's no more for Charlie, then we'll go to Steve. Do you have anything to report, Steve?
Yeah, on the 28th, I went to Jimmy Strumper's horse plowing over at the community garden. I think they had 4 or 5 teams there, and that's pretty cool to watch. I actually went to one with Jim out in, I want to say Canterbury, out that way, and they had like 6 or 7 teams out there. And they actually had an old guy, I would have to say was close to 90, that he wasn't riding on a sulky plow, he was actually walking behind a plow, holding on to it, So I actually went over and I asked him, I said, can I do that? And he said, sure, here. And he throws it, go ahead, So I'm walking behind 2 horses, plowing ground like they did back in the pioneer days, So that's one of the things I could add to my bucket list, I suppose. I was able to do that, that was great.
That's good.
And then I guess up in Melrose, they want to, wetlands, there was some people that showed up there. They want to go in and harvest timber up there. So they're going in under an as of right for agriculture. Harvesting timber is agriculture, So I don't know if that was granted yet. It was added on May 2nd, the last one, so it hasn't been acted on. I would have to say it is an as of right, because harvesting timber is an as of right activity. That's it.
Okay. Andy?
There has not been an Economic Development Commission meeting since our last meeting, so nothing to report there. But there is something that's significant that happened. We had a telephone conversation yesterday with the Connecticut Economic Resource Center. Lori, Bob Blank, and myself sat in on the telephone conversation, and we agreed with them on a priority list of 3. And the priority list is work on the website and get that up, because that gets us known outside of the town of East Windsor and get some important information out. The next thing is a property inventory, and the last priority that we gave them as a startup is a business listing. And they're to come back with a proposal as of tomorrow. That was what she said she would do. But it's some of those, I think the website is probably the easier of the three, because I believe there are models that can be used, and if we get the right person at the center, I believe they can put together something which is useful in some reasonable period of time. We can fund...
Excuse me, so you're saying that they would do the website?
They would build the website for us.
Okay.
With our input.
Okay, got it.
They would build the website for us.
That's outside of the Town of East Windsor website then?
Well, it's in conjunction with it. Actually, they would work with the Virtual Towns and Schools, which is our website. And they would kind of tell the Virtual Towns and Schools how to build this website, and the Virtual Towns and Schools would build it.
But are you saying you'd have to go into the town website to be able to click on to get to that?
No, you could.
Wouldn't you do that, have to go into the town website?
No, you wouldn't. It's its own standalone website. They would have a link, so you could go from their website to the town website, and you could go from the town website to the EDC website, but they'd be separate.
Okay.
I think that would be preferable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think the property inventory is a manageable task also, although I think it's a pretty substantial task. And I'm not at all sure that with the kind of funding we have, $10,000 for the rest of this fiscal year, and Lori thought that would result in 12 to 15 hours a week to support these activities.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the one about, talking about the commercial businesses, which ones?
Yes.
Okay, well, wouldn't the assessor's office have that?
No, they don't. First of all, the property is the next issue. You know, what kind of bundles of property are there? You know, and probably down the road, go out and talk to the landowners and say, you know, Charlie, you've got 10 acres, and Andy, you've got 12 acres. Would you be willing to sell all of that at $10,000 an acre, whatever the right number is? So we put together a 22-acre parcel of land for this company. That's where that would be aimed for.
Yeah.
But the other one is a tough one, Charlie. When I was on the Economic Development Commission, I went to Carol and I said, I would like a list of the names of all of the businesses in town. And she said, Andy, the best I can give you is a listing of landowners. And those landowners may be renters. For example, over in the industrial park, I drove through one of the areas fairly recently, and I'll bet you in one building, there are at least 2 buildings I know of that probably have 10 to 15 separate businesses in them. Anything from people who sell high-pressure tubing, to somebody who sells belts, to someone who sells lawnmowers, you know, and on. So that's a tough job. I don't even know how to get at that one. I really don't. So we're looking for ideas from a person from the center who might have some experience in how to do that. And Helen will have to play a part in that, trying to get a start on it. But it is. I don't think it's an easy job. That one's not easy.
Well, I know that we can ask this Monday, that Warren's Point Fire Department, they have been going out, there's nobody left here from
Commission.
There we go. They have been going out, they're day people that are over there, and going to businesses in their district, in the fire district, and capturing contact information. You know, in the event there's a fire and something, okay, because nobody has that, you know, and which is really helpful. Now, would they have the, you know, a whole log of where the businesses are and all that?
Well, I think that comes from the process of the routine fire inspections for, you know, like duplexes and commercial business buildings and things that we should inspect that.
See, what I did, Kurt, in the 20 companies that I visited, I got the name of the person, the contact person, the point person. I got their email address, their telephone number, their cell phone number, if in fact the person had it and was willing to share it with me. How many employees they had, what their business was. You know, and then I had 25 questions that I asked every single one of them. The questions were 25 common questions, so that I didn't get apples and oranges. I tried to get as many apples as I could.
Right.
Now, the center says they have a questionnaire that is 70 questions. And they're, of course, willing to share that with us once we get started. Yeah, I'll just reiterate, that is not a simple task.
No.
Now, the fire department, if they've done some work, that's a start.
Fire inspections, so.
Yeah, that's a start.
I mean, you'd have to talk to the fire marshal, I would think, to be the best resource.
Yeah. And I may not have posted the right people, but I did have trouble getting the right answer.
Okay.
All businesses pay taxes, don't they, Bob?
They sure do.
We should be able to get them off of a grand list.
Well,
They're
yeah.
registered as a business.
Well,
Yeah, no, I think you can
but
get
I
a
mean,
list of, yeah.
most businesses in the industrial park is registered as a business.
Yeah,
I mean, these mom and pop.
we can get listings from the assessor, and, but then I think we have to massage the listings to see what we're dealing with.
Is this public session again?
Well,
Can't have it
go
both
ahead,
ways.
go ahead.
I have nothing to say, I just said it. You can't have it both ways. When it's convenient for you,
Well,
you let it, and when it's not,
actually,
you don't.
well, are you through? Okay, I'll say something, my comment. What I'd like to see, and I think we all would like to see, is the people who come to this meeting work together to make the town better. And that's great. And as long as we're having a dialogue that's doing that, that's wonderful, and I support it completely. But just like in Facebook, you get these trolls, you get people who just want to make trouble. And sometimes that happens in these meetings, and that destroys the whole meeting.
I know that's my reputation, and I'm not here to cause trouble. I have some information to share, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. Shame on you for saying that's trouble. Shame on you.
I was
So be careful what you say, because I have no problem picking up the phone and calling an attorney. So be careful what you say.
Okay.
If you want trouble, I can give you trouble.
I was not
But you can't have it
directing
both ways, Bob.
Okay. I would love to see this meeting evolve into a dialogue where everybody who comes to the meeting contributes to the welfare of the town. That'd be great. And we all have different ideas, and this discussion that took place is going to help our EDC, so I was pleased to see that. It's a difficult line to walk, and so I hope everybody comes with the feeling that they want to contribute and make this town better. That's all I'll say.
The Lions Club used to put out a phone book with all the businesses in town, so I'm sure if the Lions Club had done it for all those years, I'm sure there's someplace that information can get found. Did everybody remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that? You used to get it once a year with every business in town and their phone numbers.
There you go.
I'm sure you can get it
There's a
sometime.
little tiny book, wasn't there?
Yeah, it came in your mailbox once a year.
All right, so we've got sources. And probably those people we're paying probably would say the same thing. Why don't you look in the yellow pages, you know? Okay, so that's the end of my comments. All right, we'll go into executive session, I guess. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session after a 5-minute break. Second? All in favor?
Thanks, Dominic. Ellsworth, great presentation.
Oh, at the school.
At the school.
There you go, open house. I was like, wait, what was this past weekend? Yeah,
Great.
I heard it was a great turnout. So, I'm glad you got to go down. Did you go to school there?
Yeah.
Very good.
Money, yes.
Graduated 53.
There you go.
It's all right, I'm gonna like to talk about the,
We'll make it, we'll make it to normal.
farmland on the yellow.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you,
We'd like to talk about it in public.
Enjoy the ball game on Saturday.
How's the leg? You're limping better.
I am. I've been practicing.
Is it getting better?
Yes. I'm making improvements. Yep.
Good. Glad to hear it.
It's gonna take some time. Always does.